Islam, Islam, Islamism. Bismillah, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. First and foremost, I'd like to rise to my highest of heights and give all preferred praise to our Father God Allah, acknowledging our ancestors, known and unknown, recognizing and naming all true and divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, and the last prophet in these days and times, our illustrious Hebrew prophet, Noble Jew Ali, in his first, second, and third form. I would like to remain standing and extend those honors to our National Grand Sheikh, Joe Bratton Bay, all national officials, our headquarters in Baltimore, Maryland, all sheiks, sheikesses, deputy sheiks, and deputy sheikesses, and all of our friends, visitors, guests, citizens, members. I greet you all with Islam. Today's date for the record is October 3rd, 2021, according to the Gregorian calendar. And as always, on the onset of our calls, we pay homage to our Mother, Father, God, Allah. So can I please have everyone who is able to stand erect, facing towards the east, heels together, toes apart, separated at a 45-degree angle, upper arms parallel to the floor, forearms perpendicular, 5 fingers erect and together on the left, and 2 fingers erect and together on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. We'd like to welcome you all to our National Town Hall Educational Forum call, being brought to you by the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America Incorporated, number 13, the Moorish American National Republic. Under the guidance and direction of our National Grand Sheikh, Joel Bratton Bay, I am the moderator this evening. I am Deputy Sheikh Cornelius Sanders Bay, calling out of Lake County, Florida Republic, and I will be going into our administrative announcements. Our first administrative announcement will be given by myself. On behalf of the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America Incorporated, number 13, the Moorish American National Republic, I would like to thank the guests that are on this Moorish National Town Hall meeting for joining us this evening. Our prophet, Noble Jew Ali, founded the ancient Canaanite temple in 1913 in Essex County, New Jersey. Later, in 1916, his missionary work was entitled the Moorish Divine and National Movement. In 1917, he transferred the movement to Cook County, Illinois. In 1925, the temple was called the Moorish Temple of Science. In 1926, the temple was incorporated as a civic organization. In 1927, the temple was unofficially adopted as the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. Our prophet, Noble Jew Ali, stated that the Negro problem is being solved only as it can, and that is by the Moorish Divine and National Movement. If you have a nation, you must have a free national name in order to be recognized by this nation as an American citizen. After lawfully connecting with the private international law of the Pan American Conference in 1928, the temple's name was changed to the Moorish Science Temple of America. The temple was then incorporated as a religious organization under the Illinois Revised Statutes in Cook County, giving the temple and its members national and international power. During this same period of time, unfaithful members of the Moorish Science Temple of America in Chicago and Detroit conspired to destroy the positive existence of the movement, causing great confusion. This is the reason for the misunderstanding of the national side of the movement amongst all Moorish Americans until this very day. Our prophet, Noble Jew Ali, stated that Chicago is doomed and Detroit must go down for what they did to I, your prophet. Afterwards, in 1929, our prophet, Noble Jew Ali, made his transition to the plane of soul. Our purpose of establishing this meeting on Sundays is to properly educate people on what the Negro problem really is, and to educate people concerning the national side of the movement of our prophet, Noble Jew Ali, so that you may receive a clear understanding of it. Our prophet, Noble Jew Ali, also stated, "Come all ye Asiatics of America, and hear the truth about your nationality and birthrights, because you are not Negroes. In other words, all calling themselves Negroes, Black people, color folk, Afro-American, Latino, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, or any other such names that delude to slavery, you are not these. Your nationality has been taken away from you, and your birthrights have been stolen from you by way of your original birth certificate, social security card, and your state ID/driver's license, which is why clear color copies, both front and back from these, is required from you when applying for Moorish American citizenship as you transform from your lower self to your higher self while working towards your actual freedom and becoming free national Moorish American citizens. You have ignorantly contracted into the jurisdiction of the federal U.S. government corporation. Thus, your nationality is United States. You have surrendered your free national state citizenship by registering yourself voluntarily as a beneficiary of the U.S. government corporation by way of your birth certificate, which is an unrevealed trust account instrument placing you in commerce with the federal U.S. Federal U.S. citizens are not citizens at all. They are subjects and property of the District of Columbia, residents and franchisees of the so-called bankrupt U.S. government corporation under municipal law. The Constitution for the U.S.A., the Bill of Rights, and the 13th Amendment with its 20 sections does not apply to federal U.S. citizens. Federal U.S. citizens are subjects and property under statutory, admiralty, and maritime law, as well as martial law under the undisclosed presumption of an international contract. Federal U.S. citizens have no constitutional protections or unalienable rights. They only have granted privileges by the U.S. government corporation. Legal persons born or naturalized in the federal U.S. were made exclusively by the 14th Amendment after the Civil War. The 14th Amendment was never lawfully ratified and therefore unconstitutional. Our prophet Noble Jew Ali held up the red flag with the five-pointed green star in the center in his right hand. This is our national flag. It is poorly misunderstood as the flag of Morocco. It is properly comprehended as the Moorish flag. He also held up the 48-star flag of the U.S.A. in his left hand. This is our flag of peace, friendship, and commerce within the states of the Union under the Republican form of government in this country. The 50-star flag of the U.S. with gold fringes around it does not represent free national Moorish American citizens. Social Security benefits and the income tax are voluntary contracts made mandatory for federal government employees and U.S. citizens who receive benefits from the federal government corporation. Asiatics are the Aboriginal indigenous inhabitants of America. However, due to the fact that the Asiatics' birthrights have been stolen and we have fallen from the constitutional laws of the government, being placed in a chattel property status because of the reorganization of the U.S. with the New Deal in 1933, the Asiatics are now aliens, not to this country, but to all free national governments. We encourage everyone to become a naturalized Moor and register with the Moorish National Bureau of Vital Statistics in order to become part and parcel of this free national government. In this way, you are under the divine authority of our Honorable Prophet Noble Jew Ali, being under the jurisdiction of the Emancipation Proclamations of President Abraham Lincoln, inclusive of the 13th Amendment with its 20 sections, and not under federal jurisdiction, making your identity and your nationality Moorish American. The bankruptcy of the United States is a fraud. The Uniform Commercial Code administers this fraudulent bankruptcy. So those who undergo the UCC-1 financing statement and its further paperwork applications become a party to this fraud and disconnect themselves from the divine authority of our Honorable Prophet Noble Jew Ali, which is the conspiracy of the international banking cartel against us Moorish Americans. Also, having a seat in the United Nations is a trap. This places you under the control of the cartels of Europe as well. Furthermore, a government that is a democracy is a trick because this type of government is not of the common people, for the common people, nor by the common people. Educating the masses on these issues in order for the Asiatics to become functionally active is of the utmost importance for the progress and growth of the Moorish Divine and National Movement. For more information, visit our website, www.moorishamericannationalrepublic.com. During this meeting, we would like our guests to remain muted if you are not speaking. This will prevent background noise coming from you as these calls are being recorded. When you want to speak, press the star button twice to unmute your phone and state your name and where you're calling from. You may submit your questions to our email, townhall@MoorishAmericanNationalRepublic.com, so your questions will be answered in the order in which they are received, as the email questions supersede direct questions from the audience. We would like our guests to continue to attend these meetings, and please invite your family members, associates, and friends to attend these meetings. And that will conclude our first administrative announcement. Our next administrative announcement will be coming by way of our Moorish Children's Sunday School, and it'll be given by Deputy Sheikess Ariana Sanders Bay. Islam there, beloved. You can press star, and you have the floor.
Islam.
Islam, I can hear you loud and clear. You have the floor.
Islam, this is Deputy Sheik's Sister Ariana Sanders Bay calling from the Florida Republic. First, I would like to rise to my highest height, giving all perfect praise to our Mother, Father, God, Allah, and giving honors to all the true and divine prophets, namely Jesus, Muhammed, Buddha, Confucius, and the last prophet in these days and times, our illustrious Hebrew prophet, Noble Drew Ali, in his first, second, and third form. I would like to remain standing and extend those honors to our National Grand Sheikh, Joe Bratton Bay, all national officials at headquarters in Baltimore, Maryland, all sheikhs, sheikesses, deputy sheikesses, and to all that are on the call. Islam. The Divine National Movement of North America, Incorporated, number 13, the Moorish American National Republic, expects the presence of all members and invites the public to join us every Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our Moorish Sunday class conference call. Please join us by calling 443-961-4434. All Moors currently naturalized through the Moorish American National Republic and who have not already done so are requested to forward an email to mansundayschool@gmail.com. This will confirm your registration and allow you to receive your information packet. Please include the names of all children, their ages, birthdays, and school grades. Also, we are requesting that members send us family pictures for posting on our website. Pictures of Moorish families studying, playing, working, etc., and in unity. This is highly desirable. Please be advised that submission of your photo constitutes your permission to post. To submit your photo, send via email to sundayschool@MoorishAmericanNationalRepublic.com. Again, the Moorish American National Republic Sunday School conference call is at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we invite the public to please join us by calling 443-961-4434. We had a wonderful and full-hearted class today. You can listen to today's class at www.MoorishAmericanNationalRepublic.com. We look forward to exercising our five senses together with you, manifesting for our nation. Islam and peace.
Islam. And thank you for that administrative announcement, Deputy Sheikess Ariana Sanders Bay. Appreciate you much, beloved. Islam. Our next administrative announcement will be coming by way of our Moorish School and Law and History Board of Education. It'll be given by our administrative assistant, Deputy Sheikess Carla Green Eel. Islam there, beloved. You can press star, and you have the floor.
Islam.
Islam, vibrations is strong. You sounding loud and clear. Trusting all is well with you and the family, and you have the floor.
Islam, and thank you, Brother Deputy Sheikh Cornelius Sanders Bay. Islam family, this is your sister, Deputy Sheikess Carla Green Eel from the Masters of Commonwealth. I rise to my highest height and give all perfect praises to the Mother, Father, God of the universe, Allah. I give honors to our ancestors, known and unknown, recognizing and naming all true and divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, and the last prophet in these days and times, our illustrious Hebrew prophet, Noble Drew Ali, in his first, second, and third form. Extending honors to our National Grand Sheikh, Joe Bratton Bay, all of our national and local officials, all sheikhs, sheikesses, deputy sheikesses, all of our children, students, members, guests, citizens. I greet you all with Islam. Please remain muted for this very important announcement. Peace and greetings. The Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, Incorporated, number 13, the Moorish American National Republic, requires from everyone desiring to proclaim their Moorish American nationality to fill out and complete an application for Moorish American citizenship and 3-course registration forms for each of the Moorish law and history courses, which I'll explain later. Many people question, why do we have to fill out paperwork and submit copies of our personal documents? This is the reason. We must know who you are, your background, previous affiliations, work history, physical abilities, education, skills, training, etc. First of all, these documents do not belong to you. They belong to the federal government. For you must remember that in their jurisdiction, you are an artificial corporation under civil rights and granted privileges. Secondly, we require these documents because once you are a free national Moorish American citizen, your file will be in the Moorish National Bureau of Vital Statistics, which is set up for each natural person. These Moorish documents that you'll be receiving at the time of your naturalization are prepared from these documents. The most important page in the application is the self-audit page. This allows you to make sure you know the appropriate attire to wear during naturalization and are submitting the required documents, fees, and photos. The documents must be clear-colored copies for clarity and authenticity. The photos must be passport size. We use the photos for your nationality and ID card. Please have your national and religious headdress on and write your name on the back of the photos. The application process is reviewed each week because applications are received in the National Registrar's Office either with incomplete applications, no photos, or no documents. If a question on the application does not apply to you, place N/A, not applicable. This lets us know that you did read the question but did not omit it. We must read and follow instructions and learn to ask questions if we do not comprehend what is being said. The second part of the process is enrolling into the Moorish School of Law and History by registering for the 3 courses with the following completed forms. 1. A warning from the Prophet class form. 2. Be it known class form. 3. Nationality and ID card class form. 4. Course rules and agreement form. Visit our website, www.moorishamericannationalrepublic.com, and download the application and registration forms. These forms will have the full instructions, requirements, and prerequisites for the classes. Also, mail your application an updated copy of your resume. You are not paying for your nationality. Your nationality is free of charge. You are paying for the cost of enrolling in the Moorish School of Law and History, just as one pays tuition when enrolling into a college or a university. The costs are also directed to the application processes of the preparation of your documents, as you'll receive these once you've completed the courses. It takes finances to raise a nation, and it takes finances to maintain and operate an educational forum. This concludes the administrative announcement by way of the Moorish School of Law and History. I return the floor to the moderator. Islam and peace.
Islam. And thank you for that administrative announcement. Our administrative assistant, Deputy Sheikh Carla Green Eel. Appreciate you much, beloved. Islam. Our next administrative announcement, we come by way of our Deputy Sheikh Michael Simpson L. Jr. with our warning. Islam there, beloved. You can press ***, and you have the floor.
Islam there, Deputy Sheikh Cornelius Sanders Bay. Can you hear me?
Islam, Deputy Sheikh Michael Simpson L. Jr. I can hear you loud and clear. Your vibrations are strong. Trusting all is well with you and the family, and you have the floor.
Islamism, Deputy Sheik, all is truly well with me and the family. All is truly well with you and the family.
Indeed, beloved, giving thanks. You have the floor.
Thank you much, Mo man. Much honor and gratitude. Deputy Sheik Michael Simpson L. Jr., calling out of Wayne County, Michigan Republic. First, I'd like to rise to my highest heights, giving all perfect praise to our Mother, Father, God, Allah, to all our ancestors, spoken and unspoken, naming and honoring our true and divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius, and our last prophet in these days and times, our illustrious Hebrew prophet, our great Redeemer, Noble Jew Ali, in his first, second, and third form. I also like to extend those honors to our headquarters, Baltimore, Maryland, Temple number 13, our National Grand Sheik, Joe Bratton Bay, to all our national officials, sheiks, sheikesses, deputy sheiks, and deputy sheikesses, and to all our family, friends, guests, members, citizens, and to our illustrious future, our children, I greet you all with Islam. This administrative announcement is coming by way of our Sergeant at Arms Administration. Warning, if any persons, groups, or companies claiming to represent the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, Incorporated, number 13, the Moorish American National Republic, in any way and offering to sell you such things as the application for Moorish American citizenship, naturalization paperwork, nationalization paperwork, trust documents with the Moorish American National Republic's logos, passports, diplomatic appointments, diplomatic papers, diplomatic motor vehicle license plates, driver's licenses, titles of nobility, doctorates or other educational titles, business banking licenses, tax shelters, tax identification cards, or the likeness of any of these, please contact the Moorish National Bureau of Investigation at area code 410-501-7301. I repeat, area code 410-501-7301. Immediately, violators will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. The members and the grand body of the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, Incorporated, number 13, the Moorish American National Republic are not sovereign citizens, nor Moorish nationals. The Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, Incorporated, number 13, the Moorish American National Republic is not, I repeat, is not a sovereign citizens movement. This administrative announcement comes by way of our Solicitor General, National Grand Sheik, Joe Bratton Bay. And that concludes the reading of this administrative announcement. Islam, there, Deputy Sheik Cornelius Sanders Bay. The floor is yours. Islam?
Islam. And thank you for that administrative announcement, our Deputy Sheik Michael Simpson L. Jr. Appreciate you much, beloved. Islam. Our next administrative announcement will be coming by way of our Deputy Sheikess, Alyssa Thomas Bay, with our caveat emptor. Islam there, beloved. You can press **, and you have the floor.
Islam, brother, glad to hear that all is well with you. All is well with me and the family. Islam.
Islam, Deputy Sheikess. Always a pleasure to hear your vibrations and glad to hear that all is well with you and the family, and you have the floor.
Thank you, Deputy Sheik. Islam, this is Deputy Sheik Celeste Thomas Bay calling out of the New York Kings County Republic. First, I'd like to rise. I give all perfect praises to Allah, all of the divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. Our prophet in these days and time, Prophet Noble Jew Ali in his first, second, and third form. Our National Grand Sheik Joe Bratton Bay, all of our national officials, all of our sheiks, sheikesses, deputy sheiks, deputy sheikesses, members, citizens, students, and guests, I greet you over Islam. Notice to the public, let the buyer beware. Caveat emptor. Moors are men upright, independent, and fearless, who care for their loved ones and follow the prophet to a destiny which is not uncertain nor unknown. They are fortified by the impregnable doctrine built upon love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. It is therefore folly at its greatest height for smelly culprits with their insidious plans to invade such realm. They try, but their own bad plan and bring down wrath upon their head like the sword old Damocles had. Intrigue and scurrilous cunning find a difficult path to travel within the ranks of the Moors. This is so because the Moorish movement has been well planned by Prophet Noble Jew Ali, whose latent powers are abundant, unknown, and may be called into action as a matter of defense at any moment. Prophet Noble Drew knows the people within his ranks who are interested. They are vanguard of the movement as the Moorish hordes increase here in America. All of the Moors are active, not passive. A member's interest can only be in one direction, and having traveled over the road years before the prophet knows where every member is along the road. A few feet below is another road where schemers walk, where traders grin, and culprits bask in the sun. They think they're on the same road with the true Moors, but the Moors are high above on a pinnacle, where they might view the destructionists as they fall for the last time, and their bones bleach in the sultry midday sun. Hungry scavengers flying high catch scent, devour, and leave crying out, caveat emptor, cast out the dead carcass. The Moors high above see these plotters, pervious, the worst that exists, hurl themselves downward by their own works as the hawks await. By Prophet Noble Drew. The Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, Inc., number 13, Moorish American National Republic advises the public with the words of the warning written by Prophet Noble Drew. Caveat emptor article message is the same today in 2021 as when written in 1928. We have been contacted by various natural persons who have sent funds to individuals and organizations. Said funds paying for various documents. Said individuals and organizations have no affiliation with the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, Inc., number 13, Moorish American National Republic. We herein advise the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, Inc., number 13, Moorish American National Republic, does not sell documents of any type. Again, we do not sell documents. Again, be herein notified that said individuals and organizations have no affiliation with our organization, the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, Inc., number 13, Moorish American National Republic. Some of said organizations have mirrored names which read closely to ours. Therefore, pay close attention to whom it is you are sending your funds. As the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, Inc., number 13, Moorish American National Republic, carries no liability for funds sent to these individuals and organizations. There may be others, yet the three I'm about to list have repeatedly been cited by those natural persons as the parties to whom funds were sent under guise of sending said funds to our organization. 1. RV Bay Publications. 2. The Moorish National Republic, the federal government, the Moorish Divine and National Movement of the World, the Moorish Science Temple of America, and 3. Borough of Moorish Affairs, Moorish State University. We will update this list as necessary. Trustly, the public is advised. Let the buyer beware. That concludes my administrative announcement. I return the floor to the moderator. Islam and peace.
And thank you for that administrative announcement, our Deputy Sheikess Alyssa Thomas Bay. Appreciate you much, beloved. Islam. Our next administrative announcements will be coming by way of our Deputy Sheikess Norma Solomon Eel with our National Holy Night Conference call and our Sisters Auxiliary call. Islam there, beloved. You can press ***, and you have the floor.
Islam, Brother Deputy Sheikh Sanders Bay.
Islam, Deputy Sheikess Norma Solomon Eel. The vibrations is strong, loud, and clear. Trusting all is well with you and the family, and you have the floor.
Islam, indeed, all is truly well. Glad to hear all is well with you, as well as with all the other announcers before me. Islam to the family. This is Deputy Sheikess Sister Norma Solomon Eel, calling out of the Bronx County in the New York Republic. First and foremost, I rise to my highest heights, giving all perfect praise and the highest honor to Allah, the Mother, Father, God of the universe. I give honors to all of our ancestors, known and unknown, naming and recognizing all true and divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammed, Buddha, Confucius, and to our illustrious Hebrew prophet in this new era of time, Noble Drew Ali, in his first, second, and third form. I remain standing, giving honors to our National Grand Sheikh, Joel Bratton Bey, to all of our sheikesses, our sheiks, to our deputy sheikesses, to our deputy sheiks, to all of our citizens, members, children, students, and any guests or visitors that might be on the call this evening. I greet all in and with Islam. First administrative announcement I have to give this evening is coming by way of our National Holy Night Conference Call. Islam. Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Islam, all Muslims. The public is invited to join our National Holy Night Conference Call Friday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. If you live in an area without a temple or you are unable to attend your local Holy Night meeting, our National Holy Night Conference Call is here for you. We invite the public and all members to join our National Holy Night Conference Call at 443-961-4434 every Friday as we celebrate the closing of one creation and the opening of the next. Come, give thanks to your creatress, creator, and exercise your five senses, celebrating and commemorating the divine unity of Holy Night. 443-961-4434 every Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. See you at Holy Night meeting. The next administrative announcement is coming by way of our sister auxiliary. Islam. The Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, Inc., number 13, the Moorish American National Republic, is delighted to announce our upcoming conference call, dedicated to the uplift of Moabitist members of this divine and national movement under the leadership of our National Grand Sheikh, Joel Bratton Bey, and the nobles of our grand body. Our conference call's purpose is to create a network system amongst our feminine energy, showcasing the array of talents we, the sisters in this body, have to offer. We are calling on every sister in our organization to heed this call, partake in this uplifting act, and be an active spoke in the wheel of this Moorish Republic. Come and familiarize yourself with your sisters and reap the benefits of membership of this national body that is committed to bringing about the positive change necessary to facilitate the uplifting of fallen humanity. We encourage our sisters to get involved and support this demonstration. The Moorish American National Republic Sisters Auxiliary is requesting the help and support of all our brothers and sisters to donate to our fundraising, Life Pen, and Tag Day celebration demonstrations. Show pride in your movement and support the Sisters Auxiliary as we assist in the uplifting of fallen humanity by donating $1 for a life pen, $3 for a tag, and $5 for a magnet. All three are designed to inspire, unite, and encourage dialogue about this great movement and our illustrious Hebrew prophet, Noble Drew Ali. This Moorish regalia can be viewed on our website, www.moorishamericannationalrepublic.com. If interested in joining the Sister Auxiliary or any member wishing to order regalia, you can send an email to sisterauxiliary13@gmail.com. That is TERAUXILIARY13 Please make note of your request in the subject line, whether it's membership, life pins, tags, or magnets. Please give your contact information, including your email address and phone number. Our next Sister Auxiliary meeting will be held on Thursday, October the 28th, as all of our Sister Auxiliary meetings are held the fourth Thursday of every month. That concludes the administrative announcements that I have to give. I am going to turn the floor back over to the moderator, our beloved Deputy Sheikh, Cornelia Sanders Bay. Thank you for the time. Islam and peace.
And thank you for those administrative announcements, our Deputy Sheikhs, Norma Solomon Ill. Appreciate you much, beloved. Islam. At this time, if there's any announcements from any of our national officials, you can press ***, and you have the floor.
Islam.
Islam, that sounds like Sheikh Lawrence Young Day.
Islam, Islam is I.
Islam, it's always a pleasure to hear your vibration, Sheikh. Trusting all is well with you and the family, and you have the floor.
Thank you, Mo. Thank you very much. I hope all is well with you and your family. Islam. Islam. I'm Sheikh Lawrence Young Bay, National Treasurer and Divine Minister out of North Carolina Republic. First, I rise to my highest height, giving all perfect praises to Allah and to honor to all his ancestors, some we know of, some we don't, to all our true and divine prophets, just to name a few: Jesus, Muhammed, Buddha, and Confucius, and the last prophet in these days and times, our Redeemer, our illustrious Hebrew prophet, Noble Jew Allah, the first form, the second form, and the third form. I extend my honors to Forerunner Noble Jew Allah, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and to our National Grand Sheikh Joe Bratton Bay, and to the Grand Body, to our Sheikhs, Sheikhesses, Deputy Sheikhesses, brothers and sisters and parents and students in our Sunday school, and everyone on the call. I greet you with love and Islam, which means peace, peace, peace. This administrative announcement is to the members. Keeping in line with Act 7 of the Divine Constitution and Bylaws, when mailing your dues, please include your original dues card with a photocopy of your original dues card. In the upper right-hand corner of your original dues card, you will see the letters DON and a blank line which stands for date of naturalization. Write the date you were naturalized on that line. If DON is not written in the right-hand corner, write the date you were naturalized anyway. If you do not remember the date you were naturalized, please refer to your certificate of registration for that date. Make sure 2 copies, inshallah, make 2 copies, keep 1 copy home for your record, include the month and year you are paying your dues. Payments received will be automatically applied to the past due balances first until your account is brought current. Officers, sheikhs, sheikhesses, deputy sheikhs, and deputy sheikhesses are required to pay $35 a month. Members are required to pay $20 a month. Also, if you change your address, please indicate so with a note when you mail your original dues card. This is so we can update and mark your records correctly. Any problems that you had relating to the dues, Feel free to give me a call. My number is located on the website, and you can call me at any time. This concludes the administrative announcement for the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, Incorporated, number 13, Moorish American National Republic. I'll turn it back into the hands of the moderator, Deputy Sheikh Cornelius Sanders Bey, Islam, and thank you for the time, brother. Thank you.
Islam. And thank you for that administrative announcement. Our Sheikh and Divine Minister, National Treasurer, Sheikh Lawrence Young Bey. Appreciate you much, beloved.
Appreciate you too, Mo. Thank you for your lesson.
Indeed. Islam. At this time, I'm pleased to announce our Holy Night at the National Blacks and Wax Museum, which will take place on November 5th, 2021 at 8 p.m. Our Holy Night meeting will be at the National Blacks and Wax Museum November 5th, 2021 at 8 p.m. And following our naturalization ceremony will be November 6th, 2021 at 12 p.m. until 4 p.m. at the Champagne Ballroom, which is the address for the Champagne Ballroom is 2701 West Patapsco Ave. That's Patapsco Ave, Baltimore, Maryland, 21230. Again, we have our naturalization ceremony taking place on November 6th at the Champagne Ballroom, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. And we have our Holy Night meeting taking place at the National Wax and Blacks Museum November 5th. So that's Friday, November 5th is at our Holy Night at the National Blacks and Wax Museum. And following that is our naturalization ceremony, November 6, 2021. So with that being said, I trust that I see you all there. And with that, I put a period behind my administrative announcement, and we'll be going into our questions for this evening on the town hall. Islam. All right. We have a total of 34 lines on the call. We'd like to thank you all for your presence and your energies, because you could have been anywhere this evening, but you're here with us, and we definitely appreciate you. And we're going to get into these thought-provoking questions and get some kind of dialogue going. All right. Our first question on the floor reads, how is President Lincoln's actions and policy of freedom relevant to the happenings of today? Example, Haitian refugees, voter fraud, intimidating tactics to get people to vaccinate, etc. Islam, you press ***, state your name and where you're calling from.
Islam.
Islam, Deputy Sheikis, Carla Green Ill, you have the floor.
Islam family, this is Sister Deputy Sheikis, Carla Green Ill, from Massachusetts Commonwealth. We rising to my highest heights, giving all perfect praises to Allah. This question, as I hear it, is explained in our first announcement given by our good brother, Deputy Sheikh Cornelius Sanders Bey. However, I would like to express my 5 cents on the question and say that, as I understand, President Lincoln's actions and policy of freedom are not relevant. The happenings of today are the repercussions and the consequences of operating under a de facto government and appropriate legislation. It's been stated a number of times that we have one government with 2 distinct jurisdictions. One to be maintained under the Constitution with all its restrictions. This is the de jure government. This is where President Abraham Lincoln's policy of freedom, executive will fall. It's the free national constitution, the first 7 articles of the U.S. Constitution, the organic constitution, the republic, the U.S.A, the Bill of Rights, inclusive of the 4 Emancipation Proclamations, the 13th Amendment with 20 sections ratified by 3/4 of the several states. It's naturalization, compensation, colonization for natural people, true citizens with free national names, divine creeds, flags, birthrights, land, higher self, the marvelous light. The other to be maintained by Congress outside of and independent of that instrument. This is the de facto. This is where you'll find the Act of 1871, which established the government for the District of Columbia, United States. 14th Amendment citizenship, Negroes, Blacks, Coloreds, statues, Jim Crow, voter fraud, vaccines, darkness, the lower self, granted privileges. And adding again, the 14th Amendment was never lawfully ratified by 3/4 of the several states. And you can research about that in the constitutional, the congressional record, proceedings and debates of the 90th Congress, where it speaks to the southern states who reorganized their state governments to be in line and were arbitrarily refused admission to the Senate seats and replaced by what they call rump legislation. The 14th Amendment not being lawfully ratified is contrary to the 5th Amendment, as well as Article 6, Clause 2 of the Constitution. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. Also, Section 4 of the 14th Amendment, where it speaks to no compensation. Our Prophet Noble Drew Ali teaches us, know thyself and our Father God Allah. In Act 6 of our divine constitution and bylaws, in part, it says, and know you are not Negroes, Black, Colored, or Ethiopian, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. Our 101 questions for Moorish Americans, number 90. Can a man be a Negro, Black, Colored, or Ethiopian? No. Number 91. Why? Because man is made in the image and after the likeness of God Allah. We must know that we are not Black Christians, but we are Hebrew Muslims. And being Hebrew is how we were justified free from slavery by Hebrew law, Mosaic Code, emancipation. We have to leave the de facto government jurisdiction by the process of naturalization, and that happens only through the connection of the Moorish Divine National Movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. We have to come back to the de jure government with a free national name, not Black, but Moorish American, by the authority of our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who applied to the free national constitution for the protection of the law. But we want to be Black and Negro and subject to appropriate legislation. And the warning by the Prophet in 1928, he says, so I, the Prophet, is hereby calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me remove this great sin, which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way, and without understanding, they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, and educationally, etc., in their present conditions of endeavorment, which they themselves try to force on the civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. They fought the Southerners for all these great misuses, but I have traveled in the South, and have examined conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives alike. And with that, let me continue. And I am hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light. And the marvelous light is our 13th Amendment with 20 sections. And we must enforce this law to save our nation. And I return the floor to the moderator. Islam and peace.
Islam. And thank you for that beautiful demonstration, our Deputy Sheikahs, Carla Green Ill. Appreciate you much for that beautiful, beautiful demonstration and starting us off with the feminine energy. Yes, indeed. Islam. At this time, if there's any questions, Islam, you have the floor, Deputy. You have the floor, Deputy Sheikah Alyssa Thomas Bey. I hear you, Sheikh Orton Bey. I'll bring you on after the sister. Islam.
Islam, giving thanks, Deputy Sheikh. Islam, this is Deputy Sheikh calling out of the New York Kings County Republic, re-rising to my highest heights. First and foremost, I got to give my stars to my beautiful Deputy Sheikh, Carla Green L. She did a beautiful demonstration, clear, concise, straight to the point, no confusion or contradiction to anything that she said. I agree with it 100%, and I just want to give her my love and my shout out to my sister. There's really not much to say after her demonstration because she did a beautiful job. But I just want to say this first and foremost. It's very unfortunate, what is happening to our Haitian brothers and sisters, what is happening with the voter fraud, right? What's happening with the bullying of the vaccinations. I'm seeing it. It's all around me. I kind of live in the middle of the quote-unquote Caribbean community. And I'm seeing everything that's happening and how what is happening there is affecting, the immediate family members on this hemisphere. So with that being said, it's very unfortunate. President Abraham Lincoln's executive will and everything that he brought to us, it doesn't apply to what's happening, and that's the problem, That's the problem that we're having, because under his executive will, we were to be compensated and receive protection from the military. That's a very important factor, protection. So everything that we're seeing, people being whipped, being pushed back over the line, the border, under his executive will, through being naturalized, being classified and identified under your natural and rightful status, instead of Negro, Black, and colored, you are supposed to, among other things, receive protection from the military. So I just wanted to highlight that. The Prophet brought this saving power to us all, for all of us to utilize, to learn from it, and to implement it to our everyday life. And he brought it to us for a reason. When we don't identify by our descent names and we're not being naturalized to come back under the constitutional fold, a lot of the abuses and mistreatments will apply to our brothers and sisters that identify as being Negro, Black, and colored. It's very unfortunate, but that's just how it works. We have no rights under this de facto government. And the solution, once again, is Abraham Lincoln's executive will, which has been made permanent parts of the Constitution and must be fulfilled. So we have to get back under the constitutional fold. And that's the saving power that we all need to come out of this horrific, just inhumane conditions that our brothers and sisters are facing. Because regardless of what you identify as. We are all brothers, sisters, and cousins, and we all supposed to love each other and uplift each other. So we're going to always feel a way when we see our brother, our sister, the children being mistreated. So that's why we have to do our part to continue to educate our brothers and sisters and explain to them, you've tried everything thus far. Now you got to get back into the constitutional fold of government. This is something you haven't tried. There's power in numbers. And the more Moorish Americans that register as such, we cannot be ignored. And with that, I'd like to say Islam in peace.
Islam. And thank you for that beautiful demonstration and add-on. Our Deputy Sheik is Alyssa Thomas Bay. Appreciate you much, beloved. Definitely, the feminine energy is strong. And definitely, we love when our sisters demonstrate. But at this time, subhanAllah, Sheik Isaiah Orton Bay, you can press star, and you have the floor.
Islam, brethren, all is well, Deputy Sheik.
Islam, beloved, all is truly well. You have the floor.
Islam, family. This is your good brother, Sheik Isaiah Orton Bay, calling out of Wayne County, Michigan Republic. First and foremost, I'd like to rise to my highest heights and give it all perfect praise to our Mother, Father, God of the universe, whom we Moors refer to as Allah. Remaining standing and extending those honors to all of our ancestors, known and unknown, naming, recognizing all true and divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammed, Buddha, Confucius, our last illustrious Hebrew prophet in these last days and times, the illustrious one, noble Jew Allah, in his first, second, and third form. Like to remain standing and extend those honors to our national officials at headquarters in Baltimore, Maryland, under the guidance and direction of our National Grand Sheik, Joe Bratton Bay, all of our sheiks, sheikesses, deputy sheiks, deputy sheikesses, our staff, our members, citizens, students, family, friends, our illustrious children, our mighty angels. I greet you all in the universal greeting of Islam. Islam. Beautiful commentary by our sisters, like our good sister Deputy Sheikess Alyssa Thomas Bay stated. Our beloved angel Deputy Sheikess Color Green L. She took us from the bottom to the top more. So I hope everyone was taking notes, because our sister gave us a lot of information that we can look into. Islam, and beautiful commentary by Deputy Sheikess Thomas Bay as well. My sisters, appreciate you much. Islam. Just to add on to what was shared by my sisters, what is the relevance of the things happening today in reference to President Abraham Lincoln's actions and policy of freedom? Okay. The relevance of today is the issue which the aims of the Civil War was not fulfilled. Now, we can't stay on Lincoln, because the law is ignorance of the law is no excuse. So it's not coming upon President Abraham Lincoln and his actions in reference to what our issue is. See, we had one that was divinely prepared and sent to us. Even though you had divine intervention and divine awakening coming through that spirit of Abraham Lincoln as well, we need to identify and know the roles of each. This is why it's important to enroll in the Moorish School of Law and History, because, again, as stated, this information is not taught to the masses. There's so much misconception surrounding Abraham Lincoln. So his actions, let's understand Abraham Lincoln and what he was charged to do. If you do any type of research in Lincoln, you will see that he was all about preserving the Union. That's balancing out the one government, as our sister Deputy Sheik is Color Green Ill stated, with two jurisdictions. He was about preserving that. That's what his actions was based upon. However, with that balance comes remedy. All right? He set forth the law aspect, put that in place so Prophet Noble Jew Ali can do the things that he needed to do. What other actions did Abraham Lincoln do as it pertains to us as Moorish Americans? Remember, preserving the Union, he's doing for the Moors, and he's doing for the Anglo-Saxons, the Europeans, who are Moors also when you study. However, going back to the fraudulent picture that we all are dealing with, European versus Asiatic. So he had to balance out for the pale-skinned nations of Europe as well. All right, preserve the Union. This is what his actions was predicated to. When we're talking about the policy of freedom, we're going back to the Hebrew law. All right? We say the proclamations of Abraham Lincoln, this is in layman terms. However, he drew from something. That policy of freedom, Morris, is the Mosaic Code, which governs the planet. How do we connect these dots? Well, the Moorish Science Temple of America, this is where you have to check in. The antidote, the remedy, is the knowledge, the information that Prophet Noble Jew Ali is bringing us to make us what? Better citizens. So when we're talking about the actions of President Abraham Lincoln, he did what he was supposed to do. He did what he was charged to do. But Prophet Noble Jew Ali came to us in 1928 with a warning, letting us know if we continue, all right, dealing with that one main issue, which is recognition, being recognized, but if we continue to identify, accept these brands, these marks that are unconstitutional, that are sinful, transgression, sin, separation, and nature, what are we separating ourselves from in this transgressional state? Our culture, our way of life, all the laws and the covenants that was established by our ancestors with our God. So we are in violation to that. What we see today is a relation to that. We are violating the laws of our ancestors. By not knowing, that's no excuse because, again, we were warned, as our good sister Deputy Sheikah stated, you have to come this way. You have to trust in the prophet into a destiny that's unknown. You don't see it. It's called faith. But that faith is cultivated within the knowing. Sometimes when you step into the unseen, you are afraid because you don't know what may happen or what may take place. But you have to go through that experience, that trial, that error, that up, that down. It's called life, Moors. It's the flat line we don't want. The lines that go up and down, that's signs of life. It's called trials and tribulation, and this is how we perfect man. This is what the lessons is doing for us. It's building up the mind. It's giving us the power, the control, again, to do what? Create thoughts. Thoughts are things. You create your own destiny. So it's things like this that we have to take more dear to our cultivation of self. What may seem and what may appear to be on the outside could be an illusion, but that's the matrix, that's the program. Remember, Morris, it's two pills, the red pill or the blue pill. Prophet Noble Jew Ali is showing us how deep that rabbit hole really goes. And with that, I'll put a period behind my statements. Yield the floor back to you, my good brother, Sanders Bey, Deputy Sheikh, Islam, and peace.
Islam. And thank you for that beautiful demonstration and add-on, Sheikh Orton Bey. Appreciate you much, beloved. Islam. The brothers and sisters have done a beautiful job thus far, but at this time, our floor is still open for anyone who has any questions, comments, concerns, or anyone that would like to add on to what has already been stated. The floor is now open. You can press ***, state your name and where you're calling from.
Islam.
Islam.
Islam, this is Marcus Troy Reynolds Ill, calling out of Connecticut Republic. Can I be heard?
You can be heard loud and clear, my good brother. You have the floor.
Islam family, I'd like to rise to the highest heights, giving all perfect praise to our Mother, Father, God, Allah, extending those honors to all our ancestors, known and unknown, naming our divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Confucius, Buddha, and our prophet of these days and times, our illustrious Hebrew prophet, Noble Jew Ali. Extending those honors, remaining standing, extending honors to our National Grand Sheikh, Joe Bratton Bey, all the nationals, all the sheiks, all the sheikesses, deputy sheiks and deputy sheiks, and all the brothers and sisters and members and guests. I greet you all with Islam. With so much being said by the deputy sheiks and deputy sheikesses before me, it really hard for me to make any comment whatsoever because it was so elaborate. Yet I'm going to try to use a little bit of the scripture to help me get an understanding of what's going on, and use my layman words. Number one, in the Emancipation Proclamation, it says the military and the executive government shall aid us or not get in our way in any efforts that we may make, which means we have to be making an effort. Without making an effort, they're not going to do anything. So it's upon us, those that come through this movement, and it's a hard road because, how do I put it? They've been it's so engraved in them. They're this way of life, this 14th Amendment, calling themselves Black, Negro, and this information is so new to them that it's challenging to try to get this message out. Yeah, that's something that we have to do, and that's one of the reasons why I try to use the Holy Scripture, because I know a lot of my brothers and sisters here in the United States, they use this book more than any other book. They're not the ones that I know, so I try to use this. So I'm going to use the scripture here. This is Isaiah 5:13-14. Therefore, my people are going into captivity because they have no knowledge, and their honorable men are famished, and their multitude dried up with thirst. Therefore, hell has enlarged herself and opened her mouth without measure, and their glory and their multitude and their pomp, and he that rejoiceth shall descend into it. As we know, us that came through this doorway, we were missing knowledge that they do not have. So we can understand that captivity, part of slavery, is a mental state. Hell is a mental state. It says Deuteronomy 28:36 and 37. The Lord shall bring thee and thy king with which thou shalt set over thee unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone, and thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all the nations, whether the Lord shall lead thee. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, an astonishment, byword, and a proverb, that's Negro, Black, and colored in D.C. Those and based off of the law of the Constitution, you can't be a misnomer or a corporate entity and be a citizen. You have to be a natural person. And this is so true. There's no doubt in my mind or in my heart that Allah exists, because it's right here in our face. The lack of this knowledge is where we are losing, and trying to get this knowledge out to the people that have been trained to think is a hard battle. So therefore, the proclamations of Abraham Lincoln and what he did, his acts, they still are on the books because law governs all events. Yet without knowing how to operate within those laws, we call it the ex de facto law, the 14th Amendment, 15th Amendment, which is pretty much those are ex de facto, but they're an extension. The Christian Black codes tie into that, which ties into the 1740 slave trade, where negroes, mulattoes, muzitos, meaning people of Moorish descent or Spanish descent, are slaves unless they have some type of proof of amnesty, and everyone is under the classification of their mother. So without, like, my parents are classified as Negroes on my birth certificate. So, and I've been operating with that birth certificate, getting a social security number and everything else. So all my documentation has been classified under that classification. Like I believe Deputy Sheik says, ignorance of the law is no excuse. So the issue is me. The issue is me. It's not anybody else. No one else can do this for me. We all have to do it for ourselves. I have to free myself just like everybody else does. So what's happening in this world is that the lack of knowledge is why the hell has opened their mouth wide. And if I'm correct, it also says that if the Israelites were a cluster of grapes, only one will he be saving. So we might be that cluster, that one grape out of a cluster, that knows this truth and is trying to operate within this truth and save our family and friends with this truth. And with that, I yield the floor. Islam?
Islam. And thank you for that beautiful demonstration and add-on. Our good brother Marcus Troy Reynolds Ill. Appreciate you much, beloved. Islam. All right. We have satisfied our first question. Our brothers and sisters have done an excellent job. There's not too much more to say or put on it. So we're going to move on to our second question on the floor this evening. But before we do, there's a guest that would like to speak at this moment. Islam. Islam. Islam.
I'm sorry. Am I heard?
I can hear you loud and clear, daughter. Angel, beloved daughter Angel, you have the floor.
Wonderful, wonderful. Good evening, all. My name is Chanika. I am daughter of Deputy Sheik Cornelius Sanders Bay. I really just wanted to come on and express my gratitude for all that you all do, and to National Grand Sheik Joel Bratton Bay, who allowed my father to extend his knowledge, his love, fatherly love, and naturalization to me recently. So I'm in the Army, and everything came down with this mandated vaccine, and I naturally have no denomination. I believe in the love of the Creator, and I immediately expressed this to my father, and my father was able to come to his family, you all, and ask for me to have that permission to bring that exemption of religious belief to the military. And so I just wanted to come on and express my gratitude for that. I'm still going through the process, but I just wanted to say thank you for acknowledging me as your family and spreading your love around me. So I appreciate all of you and all what you do, and the knowledge and love that you've given my father. So with that being said, I'm done with my comment.
Islam. And giving thanks. Love you much, daughter Angel. Love you much. And we'll speak. All right? Peace.
Yes.
Peace.
Peace.
All right. We're moving on to our second question on the floor this evening. And the question is, it goes, I have been listening to this call for some weeks now. Sometimes the people answering the questions sound upset with the questioner. Is this aggression about and while answering questions how the Prophet uplifted fallen humanity and taught the Moors to be? Islam? You can press star, state your name and where you're calling from. I have been listening to this call for some weeks now. Sometimes the people answering the questions sound upset with the questioner. Is this aggression about and while answering questions, how the Prophet uplifted fallen humanity and taught the Moors to be? Islam? You can press star, state your name and where you're calling from. Islam.
I'll answer this question. This is Marcus Troy Reynolds Ill, calling out of Connecticut Republic, rising to my highest heights, giving all perfect praise for our mother, Father God, Allah, who loves us so much, and extending those honors to all the prophets, all the way down to National Grand Sheikh Joe Bratton Bay, and all the officials. I will say this: I've been in this movement since 2017, and I'm not who I was when I first took the classes. I have changed a lot, but yeah, I have a lot of growth. I still have to continue to grow and challenge myself to have more control, have better temperament. One must understand that we came here for many reasons. Each one of us got here our own way. I'm a veteran. I see things other people don't. So, you got to forgive me if I come off aggressive. I do apologize for any of that. My heart is whatever's coming out of my heart is coming out. And we say where the higher self goes, the lower self also goes. Right. So this is a movement. It's a divine and national movement. I don't believe that one person came into these doors and was already on his best behavior, behaving exactly according to law and according to the divine prophet and all the prophets and Allah and Jesus, was right with them, right? This Buddha, did nothing wrong. I think all of us have to grow in. It's a growth. Some of us are aggressive, and hopefully over time that will come out of us, and we'll be better at articulating our feelings. And I feel the floor at that as well.
Islam. And thank you for getting the ball started and getting us rolling on our second question. Brother Marcus Troy Reynolds Ill, appreciate you much, beloved. Islam. At this time, if there's anyone with any questions, comments, concerns, anyone that would like to add on to what has already been stated, the floor is now open. You can press star. Islam.
Islam, Deputy Sheikh. All is well?
Islam, Brother Curtis Douglas. All is truly well. Trusting all is well with you and the family, and you have the floor.
Islam, indeed. Islam, this is Brother Curtis Douglas calling from the New York Republic. First and foremost, I'd like to rise to my highest heights, acknowledging the creator of the universe, who we Moors call Allah, acknowledging all acknowledging all ancestors, both known and unknown, acknowledging all sheikhs, deputy sheikhesses, members, visitors, and guests, but most definitely acknowledging all divine prophets, in the name of Jesus, Muhammed, Buddha, and Confucius, and our illustrious prophet in these days and time, the Wajrali in the first, second, and third form, all national officials, everyone on the call, everyone under the leadership of our National Grand Sheikh Joe Bratton Bay. For this question, I'd just like to go back to the Circle 7 Quran, specifically chapter 7, my apologies, where it says that this was basic. Chapter 7 speaks the friendship of Jesus and lamas. Jesus explains the lamas, the meaning of truth. Touching base, verse 16. Force is the will of Allah and is omnipotent, and power is that will and manifest, directed by the breath. 17. There is power in the wind, a power in the waves, a power in the lightning stroke, a power in the human arm, a power in the eye. I just use this to preface in saying, when we hear the thunder, there's a power in the thunder. In this very same chapter, it talks about 13, man is the breath made flesh. So truth and falsehood are co-joined in him, and they strive, and naught goes down in man as truth abides. Verse 12, and Jesus said, man is truth and falsehood strangely mixed. And we know that with truth and falsehood strangely mixed, just like the individual who posed the question, you might hear a vibration that might seem that the person is attacking, but the truth is, Noble Drew Ali taught us that we build on 5 principles: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And as we work out, going through, like the brother just demonstrated, we're going through different stages. And what do I mean by that? In the same chapter, when we go forth in verse 27, it says, salvation is the ladder reaching from the heart of man to heart of Allah. Verse 28, it has 3 steps. Belief is first, and this is what man thinks perhaps is truth. Verse 29, and faith is next, and this is what man knows is truth. Verse 30, fruition is the last, and this is man himself, the truth. 31, belief is lost in faith, and in fruition is lost, and man is saved when he has reached the deific life, and when he and Allah are one. Truth be told, Noble Drew Ali hit the highest height, that level, and was able to now bring back to us who are under the brand Negro, Black, and Colored, the truth as to what our nationality is, so we can pretty much now clean ourselves up and turn around and do the same thing for our brother. But as we go through that process, you might still hear certain hiccups based on the falsehood that might still be in us, but it's our intention. You got to look at the intention. So if the caller is listening to the message and not get caught up on the individual going through his or her process, see the bigger picture. If it applies, then basically utilize it to uplift yourself. If it does not apply, i.e. how the message was delivered, let it fly and basically see the point in what the individual was basically conveying. Because if somebody is reaching out to you to give you a rescue, okay, he or she might be dirty physically, but that person is genuinely looking to rescue you and give you a helping hand. Are you going to scorn that hand, or are you going to grab the hand and be lifted out of the muck? We can worry about the dirt later on, but the fact of the matter is the person extending love to you, and it's the same way. Sometimes the person might feel anxious of the fact that he or she needs to grab that individual who's in danger. So when danger is coming, it's going to come the way it comes. So need not get caught up in the individual's voice or tone. Look to the intent. Did the person extend love to you? Did you benefit from the individual's action? It says everything is permissible, but the question becomes, was it beneficial? So with that, I yield the floor back to the moderator. Islam and peace.
Islam. And thank you for that beautiful demonstration and add on. Our brother Curtis Douglas definitely hit the nail on the head. Appreciate you and your demonstration. And at this time, our floor is anyone who has Islam, Deputy Sheikh Roy Bey, you have the floor.
Thank you. First, I rise to my highest heights and give praise to Allah, the great God of the universe, who is almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible, the universal governor of this world seen and worlds that are unseen. I give honor to John the Harbinger, also known to us as the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, both harbinger and forerunner to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give honor to all true and divine prophets, naming Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. All you Moors on the call tonight, those who are not on the call yet had a heart and mind to be on the call. I give honors to our National Grand Sheikh, Brother Joe Bratton Bey. I extend those honors to Prophet Noble Drew Ali in the first, second, and third form. Yes, about that time, Morris. About that time. So, we have to be scientists and understanding sound vibration. And somewhere in the Moorish doctrine, it was said, I believe it's in the oral statements, that he could still hear the sword swinging on the battlefield. The scimitar sword, like any other handling of a sword, can come with 2 purposes. One could be to cut a slice of butter. The other could be to take your head off. One edge is aggression, as the individual who put the question on the floor stated. One end of the sword is aggression, the other is passion. So we must be scientists and trying to determine which one is which. One is in our favor. The other one is warranted by the spirit of Islam. See, when you set for the defense of the gospel, it ain't just so much about your scholarship in Moorish science. Let me tell you a little story. Right before the pandemic kicked off, when we had our last naturalization ceremony, there was some alleged so-called real threat on the National Grand Sheik. And we was on point at that ceremony. You see, I'm a soldier, and I make no apologies to nobody in my lifetime for being who I truly am. And one thing you're going to get from Brother Roy all day is the real me. So you can never say I tricked you, I lied to you, or I deceived you. Aggression in any movement at times is necessary. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali, according to the oral statements, he even said at one time, if you can't come to a peaceful resolution, I'm paraphrasing that part, but I'm quoting this part when he said, then drop the world on them more. Drop the world on them. And the world, he was alluding to the hand being balled up into a fist. Drop the world on them more. You see, we at war out here with all types of forces and people who don't like us. And they are people who come on the call not for knowledge, and it may not even be the one who asked the question, but they are people who are listening to these calls because they're trying to study the spirit of the Moors who are talking so they can see a weakness in us. See, there's a balance here. We talk about a balance all the time. We like feminine energy coming on the call. Praise be to Allah. But guess what? The balance to that, with warranted, could be aggressive energy. See, Brother Isaiah Orton Bay is a well, soft-spoken brother. That's the spoke in the wheel that he brings to the chamber. I can be that too. A lot of the times I feel liberated because I speak with power and authority. This ain't no sucker organization. We playing for keeps out here with regard to this policy of freedom and this doctrine. We want the world to know it. So we don't mean to offend the actual person who asked the question, but the spirit coming through the line is what we have to be very analytical on and learn how to study it from a scientific perspective so we can know, as Brother Curtis Douglas Bay just stated, where the person is coming from. Are they trying to attack me as the one who asked the question? Or is it just the spirit because of their passion is so riled up into this movement? See, I'm in the movement, and the movement is in me. And there are many of us out here. It happened right there in Eatonton, Georgia. One of my old teachers, been in jail now for 20 years, Dr. Malachi Z. York, had the most brilliant brothers and sisters around him, but none of them were soldiers and warriors. So when they came on the land with assault rifles and tanks, they ran on Dr. Malachi Z. York. We need soldiers here, along with scholars and scientists. All hands and all attitudes should be on deck when it comes to those three demonstrations right there. I don't like sometimes how we tend to think the National Grand Sheik Joe Bratton Bey is our homeboy. He's not our homeboy. He's a nice guy, and he talks to all of us. But he's not our man like that. He's our leader. So why we don't surround National Grand Sheik Brother Joe Bratton Bey the way the black man or the black woman in the FOI Muslim ranks surround Louis Farrakhan? Our social, structural, behavioral patterns around our leadership is not, in my judgment, tight-knit enough. So when you see that picture that we took up in Harlem, New York, one of the most powerful pictures in Moorish American history right now, I'm an aggressive brother. I organize the social structure of that picture. When you see the picture with all of us in the white and we sitting in a crescent form, that was the aggression of Roy Bey. When you see some things getting done that are beneficial to the organization, it's really not aggression, it's just passion for my Holy Prophet's movement and what he bought for us. See? Some of us can quote this stuff better than others. But there are those who can't quote none of it, but got the spirit of love for the prophet and what he bought for us in their hearts and in their minds. This ain't no, oh, he's being aggressive. Even Jesus in the Bible told his disciples to pick up arms and attack the Romans.
Islam Deputy Sheik, I don't mean to cut you in, but it's 9 p.m. and
That was quick. All right, brother Deputy Sheik Cornelius Standards Bay. I thank the Moors for their time tonight. Allah be pleased. Peace.
Islam, and thank you. Islam there, my good brother.
Hey, this is Brother Rufus Lee Dean Eel calling from the Arkansas Republic, and I just would like just to add a little piece.
Well, you got Islam
pertaining to the question.
Islam, my good brother. Well, you gotta be quick because I can't deny nobody. But
here it is.
Matter of fact, it's 9 p.m. We got to bring our National Grand Sheik on. So let me bring him on, and if he'd like that, let you speak, then we can do so. Islam.
Okay, sounds good. Islam.
Giving thanks. Islam. At this time, I like to ask everybody to mute their lines and remain muted as I introduce and bring to the floor the National Grand Sheik of the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America Incorporated, number 13, the Moorish American National Republic, is none other than my brother, your brother, our brother, the National Grand Sheik Joel Bratton Bey. Islam there, National Grand, you can press ***, and you have the floor.
Everyone, Islam. Okay, I heard the brothers. I heard your request. Yeah, go ahead and let the brother speak, Mo.
Islam, National Grand. Islam, brother Rufus Dean Ill, you can press ***, and you have the floor.
Islam. Hey, I just wanted to add a little bit to the question, and to respond. I would say the way that the prophet teaches Moors to be, as it relates to answering questions, I think it will reflect in the way that they are, and it's always to express love and truth, among other virtues. And I kind of think I know where this question comes from, and it's a great question. But to show love also reflects patience and kindness, and I believe that Moors do that. They definitely are patient. I don't think it's not the question, but it can be the way that a question or the questions are being presented in terms of like protocols. In a classroom, we're forced to raise our hands before we ask a question. And in other settings, we might press a button, for example. So awareness of where we are is important because in each setting, as I state, we act different based on where we are and who we're speaking to. So we tailor our presentation to the audience. So I would say, based on where we are and staying aware of where you are, too many repetitious questions, although welcomed, might be better expressed in a personal conversation. So Moors reflect the persona of the prophet, and Moors welcome questions. Questions are expected in the Moors walk. So I yield. With that, I yield.
Islam. And thank you for that demonstration and add-on, our good brother Rufus Dean Ill. Appreciate you much, beloved. But at this time, we have a total of 48 lines on the call, and I'd like to turn the floor over to our National Grand Sheik, Joel Bratton Bey. Islam there, National Grand, you have the floor.
Islam. Thank you and everyone else who's been on the call this afternoon or this evening, and I'm everyone as well and family. Thank you, Deputy Sheik Cornelius Sanders Bay. Trusting you are well and your family, and all of us have a role to play. I always say we spokes in the wheel. And see, the thing is, you don't want to kill the messenger, but a lot of us do that instead of listening to the message. So nevertheless, let me rise to my highest height as always and giving all my love and praise to Allah, who I truly love so dearly. There's nothing like knowing your God. And I want to give honor to our ancestors, those that we speak of and those that we don't. There's so much a part of us, in us, and around us. that they are for us. Really, they are. In honor to all of the divine prophets, namely Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius, and our most illustrious Hebrew prophet is none other than the Honorable Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who is truly our Savior as well as our Redeemer. Giving honor to all of our Moorish staff and officials who I honestly appreciate, love them for all that they do and continuing to do. And giving honor to all of our members and all of you noble brothers and sisters who's on this call this evening. Islam, Islam, Islam. My love divine is always presented to you because we all are one. Well, okay, Mo. Let's deal with the questions. I'll add my little bit. Thank you to everyone who has spoken, and it's good to hear everyone, especially our sisters. It's always good to have the sisters' vibration coming to the platform to bring balance. So go ahead, my brother. Go ahead, Mo.
Islam National Grand. Our latter question reads, I have been listening to this call for some weeks now. Sometimes the people answering the questions sound upset with the questioner. Is this aggression about and while answering questions, how the Prophet uplifted fallen humanity and taught the Moors to be Islam?
Islam. Well, you know, in all societies and all organizations and businesses, whatnot, when you have conferences, you're going to have people ask questions, and if they are not responded to the way that individuals like it to be responded to, then you're going to have some resistance. And that's in all kind of venues. It's not just us. Just think about it. Even in the Congress, the U.S. Congress, when the representatives, when they debate certain things, sometimes you have irate senators saying certain things, and they get upset. So these things apply. But the thing is that we got to stop being so emotional about each other and take our time and listen to what's being said. That's why I said, don't kill the messenger. But see, we're so emotionally involved, so we'll just block out the message and, oh, I don't like what he's saying, how he's saying it. He's being detrimental and his presentation, and so I'm just going to step away. But see, you be missing your blessing when you do something like that. That means your mind is small because you're going to have all kind of people coming your way with certain ideologies, if you will, and how they present themselves. But as I stated, listen to the message and see how it's going to apply and what benefit you're going to receive from it. That's where we need to be. In all of life, everything is not going to go your way on what people say or what they do. But the thing is, man doesn't know by being told, man or woman. So just because somebody tell you something, that don't necessarily mean that it's so. But, you know, we as a collective, we don't like to read, and we like people to tell us what to do and how to do it, to finding things out ourselves to see exactly what and how to do things. So we got to remember that we are human beings, and we have our ups and downs, and we are very emotional folks. But the main thing, we as a collective have a problem. And that problem is dealing with each other. Because we don't like to listen. We don't have patience. And when you see your brother and sister, if you don't know your brother or sister, then you're going to truly have a problem. And that's what that Negro mentality is all about. There's a separation of what you see, how you see it, and what to do when you see and hear what's necessary for you to grow in society with understanding. And that's why our prophet teaching says the gifts of understanding are the treasures of Allah. And he appoints those individuals the measure that he sees fit. But see, the thing is, when you get that understanding, you have a treasure from the Creator, your God Allah. But you don't realize that it's a gift. But once you receive the gift of that understanding, the question is then what you're going to do with it. So if someone have an understanding that you don't have and they present it to you a certain way, don't tear it down. Just step out the picture, look at it for what it is, and see how you can utilize that gift of understanding. So now it's being bestowed upon you, so what you going to do? So we got to realize all this is about knowing self. And you don't want to keep to bring your lower self into any situation. And that's why we have so much problems with each other and in society because of what we think. But now is the time not for us to always think or feel believe what we know, but now it's the time to know. So if man or woman knows, then they must be what they know. So when you know yourself, you can't help be but a better citizen with understanding because you've been blessed to receive it. So those things you're going to have, and they're going to confront you from time to time, but you're better than that. And see, especially with the type of things that we be teaching and preaching, it's off the grid. You don't see it out in society. And when you come with these jewels, they've been so duped of thinking that just because they have a degree and they haven't been taught this, so then they're going to look down on what you're saying as something that's not true. So we know that this man has in control of your educational processes, so therefore this type of information is Greek to you to some degree. But what we're teaching is preaching is how you connect the dots pertaining to everything that surrounds you and why things are happening the way they are. Because the bottom line is all about us. The bottom line, it is globally. It's all about us. And that question is how we are classified and identified, which makes this man do the things that he's doing globally when it pertains to us, Islam. Okay, Mo, I'll just leave that one for what it is and trusting from stemming from what everyone have demonstrated and add my little piece to it, trusting that we can get a better understanding on why people do or say the things they do, because a lot of folks are very passionate. Well, let me say this too. You know, especially when we in this particular movement and you come through the Moore School of Law and History, so certain things that you have learned that not going to be taught out there. And so many of us who've been around for a minute, been on this platform for years, and we are so passionate about what we've been taught, and we really populace to understand what we see. So we may come a different way, real regressive or progressive in things that we talk about because we're passionate about what we know. And once we get involved with other folks, all we're doing is trying to get them to see what we see. But like I said, the understanding is not there all the time. But see, once you relay the information, then you've done your job. Everybody's not going to pick this up. That's why the lesson is many will be called, but few will be chosen. So those of us who don't have the understanding, how can they fit into the picture because they lack the knowledge? So are they chosen? And if they're not, that's on them. It's on them. The truth has been given to you, but if you choose not to receive it, then who's at fault? Can't blame nobody but yourself. So I'll just end with that one, Mo. Thank you. So let's deal with this other question.
Indeed, National Grand. Our first question reads, how is President Lincoln's actions and policy of freedom relevant to the happenings of today? Example, Haitian refugees, voter fraud, intimidating tactics to get people to vaccinate, etc. Islam?
Islam, a noble brother. Thank you much. And once again, I want to appreciate our noble sisters for demonstrating so well, and the brother also. Because, you know, this topic...
Islam, National Grand, I don't mean to interrupt you, but when you're talking, sometimes it sounds like you're going out and then you're coming back in. Islam?
Oh, Islam, I don't know what's going on, but can you hear me better now?
Yeah, I can hear you better now.
Okay. Like I said, I want to just give honor to our sisters, our noble sisters, for bringing the energy to the call pertaining to these questions. I'm being heard all right, Mo? I'm just rearranging my phone here.
Islam, National Grand, you're being heard perfectly clear.
Okay. And it's good for us to have an opportunity, to speak on this particular, especially when it deals with President Lincoln, because so many people, educators as well, will demonstrate that President Lincoln didn't do anything for us. The proclamation was just a Civil War matter. It wasn't really law constitution because they don't really know the ins and outs about it. So they can only talk about what they've been taught. But see, the problem is we're free people, but we don't know the laws that freed us. So President Lincoln's actions, he didn't do this on his own. Everything had to go through the process of Congress, the Senate, as well as the House, then the states, in order for this to be lawful. And that's what it ended up to be. It was law, excuse me, and the Emancipation Proclamation in conjunction with the 13th Amendment with 20 sections is constitutional law. But once again, if you don't know the laws that free you, then you're lost. So we're charged to kick the devils off of this. Kick the dust off of these policies of freedom and make us aware of the benefit that we should receive. So like, for instance, now, President Lincoln's actions toward freedom was very profound. As I said, he couldn't initiate none of these laws without the Congress approval. And with the Congress approval, he produced this policy of freedom, which is the Emancipation Proclamation, which was basically 3 plus the 1, which is the oath of amnesty, which we'll say it as 4. And then you have the 13th article with 20 sections. All this is true constitutional law that solidifies our nationality and birthright, but yet we don't know anything too much about it. Because the man that controls your habits controls you, so if he's controlling the educational system, then what is it that he's going to teach us about this? This is covered up. We was never to know about the intricate details of this. So when you deal with this question, and when it says that Lincoln's actions and the policies of freedom is relevant to the happenings of today. So let's look at this. Let's just tear it apart a little bit. But in order for us to really understand the actions of President Lincoln, we got to know the law itself so we can see exactly what has happened. See, what's unfortunate is that we, like I said, we don't know the laws that freed us. And because there were provisions that should have been administered to us, such as we were to be made true natural citizens, we were to become free, we were to be colonized, then we were to be compensated. All this was in the 37 years from 1863 to the year 1900. We don't see any of that. And that's why the Freedmen's Bureau Act was established to activate and facilitate that freedom. But even though they shut it down, but the laws in question are still good. See, they didn't negate the law itself. They just took out the Bureau itself, but the laws still stand because there were certain bills that was provided for us. Like I said, we were supposed to be paying for our education or our homes, and we should have been the first hired and last fired when it comes to employment. All this is part of the oath of amnesty and reconstruction, which we don't know about. But as you can see under our classification as Black, African American, etc., we are the last hired and first fired, all because of how we've been classified and identified. So let's look at what this really is. So when I said the Emancipation Proclamation is law now, this law established us for colonization. And the colonization where we were to colonize was supposed to be between the Rockies and the Allegheny mountain chains, which consists of over 22 states. They call it Egypt of the West, the great body of the Republic. And It lies between the Rockies and the Alleghanies, and the Liberty Bell is symbolic to it. The Liberty Bell points out the land base that entails those states where we were to colonize. And they made law saying that we could be colonized at any place or places within the United States. So that's why when you see our people moving westward, that's what they was doing. It was colonizing. And I think so many of us may have seen the picture of Buck and the Preacher with Sidney Poitier and what's the other brother? Can't think of his name. But anyway, when they was going westward, that's where they was going. They was colonizing. And this was in conjunction with this law. But see, when you don't really know the connection, you're just looking at entertainment. But nevertheless, it's real. So within the 37-year period, we supposed to have been between the Rockies and the Alleghanies, and there's so much land out there, but they put us in a specific grouping in the city and projects on top of one another. But yet, they take the opportunity to move out in the county and spread themselves out in all the land, and they take control. But yet, they control us in a confined situation and territory, or district, if you will, by design. Why? Because they know that we don't know about this policy of freedom and the rights that we should have to initiate the things that we want to do for ourselves. So they play with us that way, and that's why we are suffering the way we are, because we don't know. Like, for instance, now, many of us in the so-called Indian tribes, they were affected by the Emancipation Proclamation. And many of our so-called Indian brothers and sisters, we're still catching holy hell on these reservations. And the reason why they were put on reservation because our so-called Indian brothers sold us out. And that's what their reward was, to be put on reservations. Because they had helped the government by showing them our hiding places of our people and the treasures that we had, because we started putting everything up in the hills and in the mountains so they couldn't find it. And then they was using us as scouts on each other. So you see how all this was taking place. But to prove that the so-called Indians was a part of the Emancipation Proclamation, there was a treaty of 1866 between the Choctaw and Chickasaw Nation. And let me just highlight what I'm getting ready to read. And this says this, Article 1 says, these are the articles that pertain to the citizens of African descent who lived in these nations. Now, we all are the same people. They know that. The word Indian is another mark of slavery. So, these articles that I have says that these articles pertain to their liberation from bondage, to the Choctaw and Chickasaw nations, and to their former Confederate slave owners. Article 1 says, permanent peace and friendship are hereby established between the United States and said nations. And the Choctaw and Chickasaw do hereby bind themselves, respectively, to use their influence and to make every exertion to induce Indians of the plains to maintain peaceful relations with each other and with other Indians and with the United States. Now check this out. We'll go to Article 2. The Choctaws and Chickasaws hereby covenant and agree that henceforth neither slavery nor involuntary servitude otherwise than the punishment of crime, whereof the parties shall have been duly convicted in accordance with laws applicable to all members of the particular nation, shall ever exist in said nations. Now, most so-called Indians that you ask or speak to, they don't know nothing about this. Why do you think they're still suffering? because they still classified up under the 14th Amendment. So let me continue. And then that in trust for the said nations until the legislators of the Choctaw and Chickasaw nations respectively shall have made such laws, rules, and regulations as may be necessary to give all persons of African descent resident in the said nation at the date of the Treaty of Fort Smith and their descendants heretofore held in slavery among said nations all the rights, privileges, and immunities, including the right of suffrage of citizens of said nations, excepting the immunities, monies, and public domain claimed by or belonging to said nations respectively, and also to give to such persons who were residents as aforesaid, and their descendants 40 acres each of land of said nations on the same terms as the Choctaw and Chickasaw to be selected on the survey of said land. After the Choctaw and Chickasaws and Kansas Indians have made their selection as herein provided, and immediately on the enactment of such laws, rules, and regulations, the said sum of $300,000 shall be paid to the said Choctaw and Chickasaw nations in proportions of 3/4 to the former and the 1/4 to the latter. So then it says, less such sum at the rate of $100 per capita, as shall be sufficient to pay such persons of African descent before referred to as within 90 days after the passage of such laws, rules, and regulations shall elect to remove and actually remove from the said nations respectively. And should the said laws and regulations not be made by the legislators of said nations respectively within 2 years from the ratification of this treaty, then the said sum of $300,000 shall cease to be held in trust for the said Choctaw and Chickasaw nations to be held for the use and benefit of such said persons of African descent as the United States shall remove from the said territories in such manner as the United States shall deem proper. The United States agreeing within the 90 days from expiration of the said 2 years to remove from said nations all such persons of African descent as may be willing to be removed, but those remaining or returning after having been removed from said nation to have no benefit of said sum of $300,000 or any part thereof, but shall be upon the same footing as other citizens of the United States in the said nations. Now, there's more to this, but I'm just highlighting this policy because the verse is drawn from the Emancipation Proclamation, but we don't know about it. So then we got to understand that we're not Indians. And to prove that we're not Indians, the book, The Early Spanish Main, by Carl Sura, says this. Now we got to remember the significance of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Act 6, the master degree. Last 3 sentences, the 5th here. The Moorish Americans, your free national name. Descendants of who? The ancient Moabites. Who inhabited what? The northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa, right? So all the people in this western hemisphere is of Moorish descent. We're not Indians. The Indians are in India. So they had to label us that term Indian. So let's see how they did it. It says the northern islands of the West Indies were populated with minor exceptions by natives speaking one language. Quite naturally going to be one language because we're the same people. Gaining their livelihood in similar manner, living in houses of similar form, having the same organization of society, and being mostly of the same stock. Now, we the stock of Abraham, don't forget it. One kind of people and culture occupied the greater Antilles, which are Cuba, Haiti, Puerto Rico, and Jamaica, and also Bahama Islands in Spanish days as Alice La Collas. They were the first people, and follow me close, y'all. They were the first people to be called Indians. So they were the first people to be called Indians. And who were these people prior to them being called Indians? We have to understand that the Moors had an empire east and west. This was the far west, the Maghreb. The Europeans didn't know anything about this part of the world. That's why they called it a new world. It was a new world to them, but it wasn't new to us. We was here thousands of years before they come. And they brought Christianity to these shores. So what was the religion of the people that was already here? Muslims, people. That's why when you see these early Western movies, you see the so-called Indians with turbans and feathers in their turbans to show you that they were Moorish and Hebrew. Because when you look at their garments, they have fringes on their garments. That proves, see, that specify and distinguish them as Hebrew, Muslims. It did. But see, we don't know this history. So let me continue. And then it says, this was the only name by which they were known to the Spaniards, evidence of their common qualities. They were the northernmost Arawaks, separated from their American kindred by the Caribs of the Lesser Antilles. In anthropological uses, they have come to be called Taino, a term introduced in the present century and taken casually from the name for a single social class. I am therefore using the preferable designation island Arawaks for the natives of this northern cluster of islands. So I wanted to share that to see how all this plays into this powerful freedom. People, we got to understand the Emancipation Proclamation was for all of our people in this Western Hemisphere, because all of us are of Moorish descent. And see, the Indians got to proclaim their nationality. They can say they're Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, whatever. That's a tribal name. That's not the origin of the people. See, once you talk to folks of this particular culture, and you ask them, well, give me the origin of your tribe, it's silence. Because, see, this missing piece of the puzzle has been eliminated. Praise Allah for sending us our prophet. So, we have to truly understand that the Emancipation Proclamation was an instrument of law to gather all the Hebrew Muslims here in this Western Hemisphere. That's why the inscription is on the belt, to return every man into his family. So do you really think it's just talking about the people here in the United States? We all are the same people, and we all have suffered slavery in this Western Hemisphere. To prove it, are we not carrying Spanish names, Portuguese, French, and English names all through the islands and here? You see how this is? The importance of it? So the question is, whoever posed the question, when they make reference to the fact that how Lincoln's actions and powers of freedom is relevant to the happenings of today. All this is relevant to what's happening today because the people still need to proclaim their nationality. And see, the prophet was on the President Lincoln when you read Act 6, when he said slavery lasted until 1865. What do you think he's talking about if he's not talking about the Emancipation Proclamation? Because that's the year when it ended. By law, the Civil War ended on April the 9th, 1865, at the courthouse in Appomattox Pavilion when Lee surrendered to Grant. That's the Civil War, though. So they had to have a law to free us nationwide, and that's why the 13th Amendment, or the 13th Article, 20 sections, was ratified and made constitutional law to encompass all of our people in this Western Hemisphere, this nation first. So when you deal with the Emancipation Proclamation, that's why it says we colonizing first at any place or places in this nation, but also it has a stretch of arm that goes to other countries throughout the hemisphere and the East, because our people is scattered throughout the 3630. Globally, East and West, we are the same people, just different tribes. But see, if you want to colonize to another country, then that government have to request the colonization procedures and finance for that individual to establish himself or herself in that particular nation. And they're mandated to pay that government to enforce the law for us to live, because the law identifies us in that country when the government confirms it. And I just saw the other day that the so-called black Israelites that's in Israel in the East, they had like a 51 so-called black, they said 51 so-called black Israelites, they put them out the country. But they the original people. See, they still call themselves black Israelites. That's not a nationality. So you see how all this plays into the picture. So now, dealing with that, and let me read something else of what Lincoln set up about all of this. See, when you deal with that Levitical code, and Lincoln and the prophet was all about it, when it's Hollywood in their 50th year proclaimed liberty throughout all the land and to all its inhabitants thereof, and it shall be a jubilee unto you to return every man into his family and his possession. So the question for us is, what is our family? Who is it? So when you subtract 1863 from the year 1913, that's 50 years. So the prophet's Hollywood come all you Asiatics heading to about your nationality and birthright. You're not black, negro, color, etc. That was his Hollywood to bring us back to the divine inscription of the Hebrew law, which our ancestors set up for all of our people to adhere to once we realize the connection of the registration of us with the government. See, all of our people in this Western Hemisphere got to be registered under the House of the Nobles, because that's who we are. And that's why the Moorish National Republic, this was set up just for that. So let me see how all this connects. So, but let me read this piece regarding Lincoln and when it's talking about the nationalization. And check this out. It says, there is reason to believe that many persons born in foreign countries who have declared their intention to become citizens. Now, we're going to bring in the Haitians and everybody else dealing with this one. Or who have been fully naturalized. Now, check it, Mo. Let's open our minds and see how this thing is being played out. When our brothers and sisters coming from Haiti, Jamaica, whatever. Now, I read the piece about these Indians, right? And I gave you the countries that identified as such. So when our people, the Haitians or whoever, Jamaicans, come into this country, they got to fill out forms of paper to identify themselves. They got to get a green card, social security card, all this stuff, to work here, etc. And then they had to become a citizen. But all this is predicated on what? The 14th Amendment. So they're citizens of the corporation, the United States. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why they catch holy hell. They got to be deported, they got to be this or that, because of how they classified and identified. They're not up under this policy of freedom. They're not. But yet they are. So that's where we come in at. Okay, let me continue. It says that who have been fully naturalized have evaded the military duty required by them by, wait a minute, I just can't see this word. Oh, it says by denying the fact that, and denying the fact and thereby throwing upon the government the burden of proof. So when people come in here from Honduras, Jamaica, etc., they got to show proof. of the naturalization, citizenship, etc., right? So then it says, it has been found difficult or impractical to obtain this proof. And so many of us fall into this category, because when you send back to the country for your birth certificate, they can't find it, this or that, so you're kind of stuck. So then it says, so it's difficult to obtain the proof from the want of guides to the proper sources of information. So you go back, you contact the vital records department in that country, and they spin you around. And not to say it happens to everybody, but on the general scope of the population that's here who try to get some type of resolution from their country, there's some differences there. Then it says these might be supplied by requiring clerks of courts where declarations of intentions may be made, or naturalizations effected to send periodically lists of the names of the persons naturalized, or declaring their intention to become citizens to the Secretary of the Interior, and whose department those names might be arranged and printed for general information. So I'm going to stop right there. So check it. Now, we the only common law, the Moorish Supreme Court of Equity and Truth. And this is what it says. Now, this is according to the Judicial Act of 1802. It says the power to naturalize is a judicial one, and Congress has no power to confer jurisdiction upon the courts of a state. So that you know, when our brothers and sisters coming in from the Isles, they had the paperwork, but are they naturalized citizens? No. They still U.S. citizens when they go through the process, right? But this law is saying that Congress can't have the power to do none of that. They don't have jurisdiction to naturalize nobody in the states. Then it says the rule of naturalization shall be executed by the states. So we are nation state. This organization, the Prophet has established this government, a religious affidavit of authority. We are a nation state, a body politic and corporate. We are a society. So why do you think that we the only ones who naturalize anybody? Do you see anybody naturalizing any of our folks but us? And anybody else who claim to be naturalized, they're up under the 14th Amendment, which is the U.S. corporation. You're not true citizens. So let me continue. And see, we lay upon the foundation of the organic Constitution, which is your free national Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4, where it says we have to establish a uniform rule of nationalization. So we're doing this because we are nation states. Anytime you have a nation, you got to have its territory, you got to have its people and its laws. We fall into all of these categories to validate and to facilitate what we're doing. So let me continue. Then it says the rule of naturalization shall be executed by the states, every court of record, and we are court of record, having common law jurisdiction. If you Google the Moorish Supreme Court of Equity and Truth, it's going to come up saying common law court. So I'm giving you some bullet points about why we doing what we doing. The government don't refuse what we doing. You refuse it because you don't believe it. And it says, having common law jurisdiction shall have the power to naturalize. To naturalize. So I just read you previously, these are messages and papers of the president. And all they talk about was naturalization, the importance of it. So as us being Hebrew Muslims, and when they freed us, they had to free us according to the Hebrew law, because that's who we are. We're Hebrew Muslims of Moorish descent. And on that bill, March 31st, 1864, they said by complying with the requirements of naturalization, we become citizens. So we have never complied with it. That's why we're doing what we're doing, so the people can comply with this law to bring you back home according to the registry of your ancestry. That means everybody in this Western Hemisphere. There are certain things that we have on the table to solidify our brothers and sisters from the islands to come up under this, so they can't be deported and treated like animals, whipped and whatever. And all that is because they look at what's going on with our brothers and sisters. Now, the people from Afghanistan or wherever they come from the east, they setting them up, letting them come into all the different states, but our people from Haiti and wherever, they want to whip them and send them back. You understand what I'm saying? So why is that? The reason why that is, Mo, is because of how they classified and identified. Because even when you come here and you fill out the paperwork, you still going to put down you either black or African American. That's what you do, and once you do that, you're dead in the water. You're a U.S. Corporate citizen. So they're going to treat you as such. See, this law is paramount for all of our people in the West. That's why when Grand Sheik Richard Dingwell and his brother met with the generals of the military back in the 40s to establish the Moorish National Bureau of Vital Statistics under a certain form, which was the form OAAN 703, that was our form for all our people to use, because it says in here, when Lincoln was talking about the draft, the military, when they set that up, they was bringing in the process under that form dealing with the Bureau that everybody got to be registered up under Moorish Bureau of Vital Statistics, and you can be eliminated from the draft and all that, tying you back to the policy of freedom. So I'm giving y'all some bullet points on how this thing really. This is the only solution for our folks. Really, it is. You can't do nothing else. But yet the Moors want to talk down on us and say, oh, no, it's not naturalization. It's naturalization, please. So, see, somebody had to spread that lie. You know, just here recently, I've been introduced to some documents from Taj Tariq Bey. Do you know this, brother? I'm going to have Big T bring this up at the Zoom meeting Saturday so y'all can see what I'm talking about and how these Moors cut and paste our stuff. Man, this brother, I know Taj well because he's always mirrored us. That's why he called himself the Moorish Divine and National Movement of the World, the Moorish National Republic. He got all that from us. I met him back in 2001 at a ceremony in Highland, New Jersey, when we naturalized 50 people. Him, Dr. Philip, all of them was there. But anyway, but y'all got to see how these Moors do stuff. Now, he created this certificate of registration, this certificate of oath of amnesty. He tweaked the words of the Lord here and there. But see, when you look at what he's doing, he copied us. He mirrored us. But yet, they don't want to do the right thing and come up on us. When I met with Taj, now I'm going to tell you, now this was a private conversation that he and I had. He said, wow, Grand Sheik. He said, you the only temple that's right. He said, we got to come up under you. But he never did it. But see, he used our stuff. He was using our taxes and number and all that. I told him to lay him out about that several years ago. But I'm going to have Big T show y'all so y'all can see we ain't just talking a bunch of fluff. You're going to see how these Moors do things. And there's others. But see, Rome know the deal. When the feds came to meet with us, they know who's who. They do. They know who we are. They put us on the top shelf. So let me continue with this. And being that I had to veer off a little bit dealing with the question, but yet I'm still on the page because it's talking about the Haitian refugees. And when I dealt with the thing about the so-called Indians, dealing with the Spanish, it made reference to the people that are in these various nations. And they talk about Haiti, Jamaicans, Puerto Ricans, and all that. The islands. All of our people are the same, just different tribes. But we're not on this page. And that's how I come when you go to these various countries, Rome is still in charge. Still in charge. People still suffering. They still being held as slaves, but they don't know. They done Christianized the folks. Because the truth ain't being taught. So you see how vital this is? So now let me continue. And let me show you what else they're doing. And check this out. Now all this is about the question now. I ain't veering off the question. I'm just bringing in certain points of history so you all can understand what's really going on. Okay, check this one out. This document is called Slave Insurance in the United States. Slave insurance in the United States has become a matter of historical and legislative interest. In the history of slavery in the United States, a number of insurance companies wrote policies. Now check this out now. Hello, people. Insuring slave owners against the loss, damage, or death of their slaves. The fact that a number of insurers continue the businesses that service these policies has brought attention to this history. Let me continue. Attorney Deirdre Pullman discovered an 1852 circular that named insurers that service some of these policies, such as the National Loan Fund, Life, Assurance Company, distributed a circular entitled A Method by Which Slave Owners May Be Protected from Loss, which names the Merchants Bank and the Leather Manufacturing Bank as institutions able to pay and adjust claims. Under a typical policy, a slave could be insured for $500 with an annual premium of about $1,125. Now, this was back in the 1800s, y'all. Now, see, what we don't know, that through Lincoln, General Howard, because see, these so-called black colleges, Spelman, Morehouse, Howard, all these colleges for us was set up according to the Freedmen's Bureau Act. And do you realize we had so many people in college during this time? We had more than Europeans. So like we had like over 90,000. They might have had maybe 15,000. I'm just letting you know about the history. We wasn't paying for no education. And the law is still good. We shouldn't be paying for no education, neither for our homes, but you don't know it. So you are afraid to deal with this, but our prophet said we must enforce the law to save the nation. This is the law we got to enforce. You either want to have this man continue to enslave you, or you're going to do something powerful enough, which we know God, Allah, is on our side, if we ask for the assistance of our ancestors to help us get through this gate. And our voice will be heard if that's what you want to do. If that's not, then we're going to continue to suffer. We got to stop being fearful of this man. But see, he made us, by looking at his image, to be fearful. So let me continue with this one. Then it says, disclosure legislation. It says on September the 30th, y'all, the year 2000, California signed 2 bills relating to slave insurance. Do you know about that? One bill was written by former California State Senator Tom Hayden, and the California legislature that insurance policies from the slavery era has been discovered in the archives of several insurance companies documenting insurance coverages for slaveholders for damage to or death of their slaves, issued by a predecessor insurance firm. These documents provide the first evidence of the ill-gotten profits from slavery, which profits in part capitalize insurers whose successors remain in existence today. Why do you think these white folks are so rich and wealthy? So they're all about going behind the door, pulling the covers off of these policies of freedom that will apply to us, but by us not knowing, we don't know what to say, and they capitalizing on it. So let me continue. It says the California Insurance Commission has the power to request slave insurance policies from insurance companies doing business in California. Now, this is sad. And we going around trying to figure out how to get from under this man's yoke. I'm giving you information, y'all. So we need to wake up and not just smell the coffee, but start drinking that bad boy. But check this out, and let me give you this piece. A part of all of this now, that's to check it now. It says the second bill, which is called U.S.A. Slavery Collodium Bill, is called SB 111737. It says this allows the University of California the option to hold a conference on the economics of slavery. And check these organizations that signed off on it that you don't know nothing about. It says important organizations such as Jesse Jackson's Rainbow Push and the NAACP supported these bills. You don't know nothing about it, do you? In California and other states, calls have been made to verify any documents that showed profits from slavery on the part of capitalized insurers whose successors remain in existence today. I'm going to stop there. So then what we going to do about that one? I know what we got to do. See, all this stuff got to be exposed, y'all. And see, the other thing where they're making so much money off of the insurance, when Grand Sheik Richard Dingle set that the bureau up, the Moorish National Bureau of Rights and Citizens, the form that we were supposed to use so they could negate from using us like that was the form OAAN 7003. And when you research that, you see it's going to go back to 1939, and you're going to see what they've done with the money that they've hidden by disengaging that form and bringing us up under the S5 form. What is it, SS5 for Social Security? Do you know they have established insurance? They call it the death insurance. It's another name. They have trust funds set up, investors, dealing with our money now that we should be receiving. All this ties into this, y'all. But see, they've gotten by, but we don't supposed to know about this hidden information, but we got it. But here, we suffered big time. And don't want to come around the table to discuss these issues that apply to all of us so we can live the life that we are destined to live. We don't supposed to be living in this type of squalor, facing all these injustices, all of this despair. And the only reason why all this is going on most because we don't know about this. This is all about your freedom. and what applies to us as a people. We are truly a free people. We are forever free, but you don't know it. You don't want to know it. But we want to continue to be a stateless person, which is someone who is not considered as a national by any state under the of its law. And in other words, a stateless person has no citizenship or nationality. As a matter of international law, citizenship and nationality are congruent, although there may be difference between the two concepts in domestic law. Although many states allow the acquisition of nationality through parental descent, irrespective of where the child is born, many still do not allow their female citizens to confer nationality to their children. This may result in statelessness, where the father is stateless, unknown, or unable to confer nationality. So, let me hit you with this, and then I'm going to stop. Lord, it's just getting 10 o'clock. And see, that's why Articles of Incorporation was established the way it is with the verbiage, to nullify all of this. And see, when these states, when we register our articles in these states and they read our articles, oh my God. When they read our articles, y'all, of incorporation, they are blown out. They are in awe because the gig is up when you read what our articles entail for what we must do for our people, our nation. It's all in our articles. And the government got it. All the states that the Moors who have businesses who want to come up on us, and we got to register our articles as a foreign entity coming to that state to do the business. I keep telling y'all, this paperwork that we have is a conversation piece, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because we was never to know. See, we educating everybody. We are. We're educating everybody. But y'all don't want to accept that. And see, the reason why this is so powerful, what we do when I read this piece about naturalization for all of our people in this hemisphere, our charter is absolute. It's all powerful. It's the most powerful charter in this whole Western Hemisphere, y'all. Why? Because it's in the doorway of the universal order with all the symbols of what it is called, as it is above, so it is below. It's the universal charter. Universal. As it is above, so it is below. They don't have nothing higher than this, I'm telling you. This whole Western Hemisphere, that's why it's called the Moorish Science Temple, the divine and national movement of North America. Incorporated number 13. The laws of 13 is absolute, y'all. So the jurisdiction we have is throughout all of North America. When the feds came to meet with us, they asked me, Bradley, what about your jurisdiction? I said, what do the charters say on the wall? And when they looked at it, people, they just put their heads down. I've used this chart in front of generals, all kind of people, these officials and whatnot. Set them all down. Because I know what we got. Trying to wake y'all up. So now, this last bullet point, for us to realize the importance of what's coming down the pipe, I'm just going to highlight the King Alpha plan, and then I'm stopped. I'm going to stop. So when you deal with the King Alpha plan, because they utilize it today. The executive order authorized October 1969 to counteract the minority. And who are these minorities? Which you got to look up that word in law and see what it really means. It says blacks, Indians, Latinos, Puerto Ricans, and poor whites, and their rise from up under the oppression and powers that be, the government. The government. Then it says, in the event of continuing and coordinated racial disturbance in the United States, King Alfred, at the discretion of the president, is to be put into action immediately. So let's see what it entails. It says Executive Order number 11491 directs 84 plan and silent weapons for quiet wars. Those of you who have the book, Behold the Pale Horse, you'll see all this in it. Has been in the hands of the popularly accepted individuals, calling themselves the black leaders. Now, for them to write this like this, and this was initiated October 1969. Now, our black leaders, Al Sharpton and Jesse and all the ones, we don't have no black leaders. Where are they? We have a black caucus. Where are they? So, who do we have to defend anything that we want? Our issues and concerns. Mo, do you hear any of our people really saying anything about anything? They know this whole thing about the COVID is a fraud, but you think they're going to stand before Rome and denounce anything? They're so afraid. But when you take that shot, you only got a few months, few years to live, and you're gone. There's nothing they can do. You're transhuman. You're not even considered a human being anymore. Believe that. And they're doing everything they can to force, because they want to eliminate the population, because there's too many of us. But I don't care what they do. Allah has blessed our seed. We're going to be as the stars in the universe. You can't count them all. Okay, what you try to do. So it says, man, these black leaders since the early 1970s, they knew about this, but they ain't saying nothing because they getting paid. They done sold out. Men have spoken of them, but few have logistically broken them down and disseminated the information to the alluring public. The King Alpha plan implicates the true motive and reason why they do not. One will take note that all the people mentioned in these government plans, blacks, Indians, Latinos, Puerto Ricans, and poor whites, do not include a de jure name or title. Y'all hear what this is saying? Our prophet brought us our titles to our vast estate. He gave us our national name. So you don't see the importance of why you must proclaim your nationality to get from under this man's yoke? Let me continue. All these words are descriptive chattel brands coined by the Europeans as substitute pedigree parentis names and were forth as appellations on the indigenous peoples of the Americas and their own discards. All people bearing these labels are referred to as it in these texts. One common thread is evident. Listen to the thread that's evident, y'all, what I'm about to hit you with. No nationality equals no rights and no human value. Are any of the states assigned black leaders speaking of or educating their people in recourse, redress, remedy, or sovereignty? Do they instruct or do they not? That is the question. So, ignorance of the law is no excuse, y'all. We're giving you the law. But if you want to stay ignorant, shame on you. Many going to be called, but few will be chosen. Please, people, be a part of the ones that's called so you can be chosen by your words, works, and deeds. Because if you don't come correct, you're dead in the water. And even though we've been teaching and preaching this for several years, but we on Allah's time. His time is right. But you got to have Allah in you. Because you you are that God in you. Allah is within you to prove that you are that God. But you hadn't known how to manifest it, but you got to manifest it by respecting your God and your ancestors, by proclaiming your nationality. Why do you think the law says, living throughout all the land, to return every man into his family? So once you be returned to your family, you honor your God and your ancestors. Other than that, you ain't done nothing. And nothing from nothing leaves nothing. That's why we are nothing in the eyes of so many folks in government. They know about this, but you refuse to open your mind, your ears, and your eyes to see what's in front of you. Oh, people, but we're going to pay, we're going to suffer when we don't do what's right. There's no excuse. There's no excuse because the truth is here for you. But it's up to you to walk this path. Because there is a God. So like I said, many be called, few be chosen. When you go to sleep, you better pray to the Creator. Pray deeply. That gift of understanding, you realize that is a treasure from Allah to you. And you better pray to Allah to give you the understanding of this truth so you know how to live your life. And with that, Moses, I'm putting the prayer behind my conversation. And I'm going to say peace. May Allah continue to bless us all. But you got to love your God. That's it. Islam, Moses. Thank you so much. Islam, Islam, Islam. Peace, my brother.
Islam. Islam. And thank you for summarizing our call and giving us the jewels, as you always do. National Grand Sheik of the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America Incorporated. Number 13, the Moorish American National Republic, is none other than National Grand Sheik Joel Bratton Bey. Islam and National Grand, appreciate you for all you have done, will do, and haven't done yet. Love you much, National Grand.
Likewise, know you know it. Islam.
Islam. All right, my good people, the time has come for us to begin to close out. We have a total of 47 lines on the call. We'd like to thank you all for your presence and your energies. But you can catch us here next week's creation, same time, same space. But at this time, the same way we open is the same way we close. Can I please have everyone who is able to stand erect, facing towards the east, heels together, toes apart, separated at a 45-degree angle, upper arms parallel to the floor, forearms perpendicular, 5 fingers erect and together on the left, and 2 fingers erect and together on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Ameen. Trusting everyone has a safe rest of the week. Keep safe, stay sane. Until next week's creation, much love and peace, peace, peace.